your name?
Polly Richards.
What is your job?
My title is Creative Programming and Interpretation Manager.
How important is your job in relation to the poppies?
Pretty important, because, do you want to know why? Because we were the team that actually started the project. So we employed the artist and the theatre designer who worked on the project, and we actually started talking with them to actually see what the installation should become. So we've been there right from the start, planning the whole installation and designing it and working with them on what it's going to finally look like.
Did you think the poppies would be this popular?
No, in fact, we do something called a risk register, where we have to imagine what might go wrong with the project, and we have to plan what we might do if things go wrong. And one of the things that we thought would go wrong was that the people wouldn't like it at all, and that they would ask for us to take the poppies out of the moat because they didn't like the moat being spoilt. So you can see that we got that completely wrong. They liked it much more than we thought they would.
Do you know how much the poppies have sold for?
Each poppy costs $25.99, and that, I think, postage is... Oh, now I'm going to get my facts in a muddle. I think postage might be on top of that.
Are you pleased with how they have turned out?
Yes, I think we did have quite a lot of teething problems, just difficulties along the way, but the fact that the public have responded so well to the installation has made us very pleased with it.
Do you think that it was the right idea to take away the poppies this soon? Why?
Definitely, because it was always planned that it wouldn't be a permanent installation and that it would go just as quickly as it had come. And there is a sense that it's a bit like life. It's not something that you can hold on to. It will come and go in a flash. But also there is a practical reason that when you plan to remove something as big as the poppies installation, it takes a lot of planning. And there were lots of people lined up to do the job of transporting the poppies to the packing factory, cleaning the poppies, taking the poppies out. All the volunteers had booked their train tickets. Some of them were coming from far away. So there were lots of different people lined up to work on taking the poppies out. And if we had to suddenly change the date, all those people, I think, would have been very upset with us, and a lot of people would have lost their jobs just before Christmas, which wouldn't have been a very good thing.
Great. Do you have a connection to World War I, and if so, what is it?
No, I have no connection personally. I probably do, but I don't know if I have any kind of members of my family who died in World War I.
And why do you think we should remember the war?
For that reason, really. So for someone like me, World War I was a very, very long time ago. I was born in 1968, so that's already, well, if you do the maths, that's like the end of the war was 50 years before I was born. So even for me to remember World War II, which I also wasn't a part of, is very difficult. So I think it's really important to know the history that's gone on before you, because history has a really dangerous habit of repeating itself. And for those of us that haven't seen the war, I think we might fall into the trap of thinking that war was a great solution for some of the world's problems, and in fact, as we know, it isn't that easy. So I think it's a great reminder of what a terrible thing war is.
And why do you think 100 years is so significant?
I don't think 100 years in itself is significant, but I think in the greater scheme of things, where we live in a world that has been around for millions and millions of years, it's quite hard for us to actually remember anything unless we have really clear, what are called milestones, so very clear dates and anniversaries that we can hold on to. So I think 100 years is just a good, it's like long enough ago for it to be important and short enough ago for us to remember it. It's like, we know we celebrate our birthdays every year. I think every 100 years there are significant anniversaries that we should remember, and this is just one of them.
Cool. And how do you want to remember the war?
Well, I would like to find some relevant history relevant to me, so I would like to find out about members of my family maybe who were involved in World War One. I just haven't found them yet. But I think along the line I keep finding other stories that I can connect to personally. So working here at the Tower, I'm really interested in remembering people who came to the Tower to sign up for war in the moat, because this is somewhere where I work, so I'm quite interested in learning about their histories. But on a bigger scale, I think all these big fantastic arts projects, really diverse projects that include singing, dancing, acting, making things like poppies and putting them in moats is a brilliant way to remember the war.
And this is the last question. Many people think that it's quite sad that all the people who died, all their deaths have become a statistic. And so do you think personally that the poppies kind of influence that idea or take away that idea completely?
I think they take away from that idea, actually. I think the fact of having a specific number means that each one of those poppies became a person for someone. And it didn't matter if, like, for me, I don't know a person that in the war. There's no one apart from kind of famous people who died in the war that I can relate to personally. But the fact of every single one of those poppies representing one person means you can connect to them. So no longer is it a statistic, it's actually something physical that you can see. You suddenly see how big that number was. So rather than just being a massive number that you can't really connect to, suddenly it has a presence. You think, my God, 888,246 people. When you see how many poppies that fills in the moat, you're thinking that is an awful lot of people. Was it really worth all of those people dying for us, and what a massive sacrifice that was?
Thank you for your time.